If I had 12 months to build the most aesthetic physique possible, this is exactly what I would do. This is the full roadmap for not just 12 months, but for any phase of your lifting journey, or if you're starting at scratch, absolutely wonderful. We can do things right from the start, which barely anyone gets the privilege of doing. I didn't get the privilege of doing that because I didn't know what to do. But if you watch this video in full, sit down with a coffee, put your earphones in, watch it while you do some cardio, and really just soak in the value, you can do things right from the very start. Or if you've messed up along the way, you got out of shape, maybe you've tried to bulk, you got too fat, or you tried to cut and you got too skinny, it's the perfect time to see this because we're gonna lay out the full roadmap on exactly how to get lean and then how to build the aesthetic physique from there. This will essentially save you years of wasted time because both myself and Will, we probably wasted a good 2 years of gym if we're being honest. And by wasted, I don't mean we weren't going to the gym because we were going every single day, but it's wasted because if you don't have a proper strategy built around your goals, you are just not gonna get anywhere near the same results that you actually want because every professional that does this for a living follows this structure. Yeah, and I'm really hurting for some of you guys because at the end of the day, you're just lacking clarity. And when guys come to us for coaching or they join the school group or something, I can just see the same patterns of thinking in guys that are just starting out. And we can just avoid that by just having some clarity and knowing how we actually approach this. So the first phase, and almost everyone needs to go into this phase, whether they're first starting the gym or if they've already been in the gym, I still think most people need to enter phase one because this is how we do things properly from the start. So phase one is the preparation / lean out phase. Now this could be anywhere from 6 to 16 weeks, maybe even 4 if you're really close. But for newbies or guys that are really out of shape, it might be above 16 weeks, it might be 6 months. If you're really out of shape, it could be a whole year of leaning out and preparing for phase 2 and 3. Do not skip to phase 3. Everyone skips straight to phase 3, which I don't blame them. It's the fun part. It's the growth phase. It's literally called the lean growth phase, and that's where we really put on muscle tissue. Do not rush this though. Do not go straight to phase 3. If you are not ready, you will waste so much time and you will make going back to phase 1 fucking miserable. So the goal is to get to 8 to 10% body fat. That's, in the grand scheme of things, exactly what we need to do. Now, there are things that we benefit from by getting this lean, but that's the crux of it. It's just getting lean. You increase your insulin sensitivity, which allows for better nutritional partitioning, less fat gain, and puts your body into a better state to bulk. I always mention the dry sponge analogy. Picture this phase as really drying out your sponge, making it lightweight and like it's been sitting out in the sun for 10 days. When you add water to that sponge, now it can really grow and become a wet sponge. If you already have a fully saturated sponge, you try to add water to that, nothing really happens. And that's also not to mention the aesthetic benefits of getting to this body fat percent. Everyone looks better at 10% body fat. It doesn't even matter if you've got no muscle mass. It's still better than floating around at 15% body fat, trying to bulk, ending up at 18% body fat when you've got no muscle to begin with anyway. Just because you've got more water retention and you're higher body fat, that doesn't make you look bigger. There's no one looking at that and saying, you look impressive, bro. Like if you don't have like 23 and above FFMI sitting around like 16% body fat, you just don't look impressive. What's impressive is being lean because no one does it. It's the hardest part. It's the quickest part. It only takes 8 weeks, hence why we're doing an 8-week challenge. But just get it over and done with because then we can get into this part that you actually want to do, which is building the size. Also in this part, you learn one of the best fundamental skills and I believe the biggest gap in knowledge with most people, and that's learning how to properly diet. I think training knowledge is fairly well known. Everyone's training pretty much okay. There's some people that could fix up a few things, and usually when we coach guys, we're just optimizing a few things with the training they're already doing. A lot of people are already training because that's what they see fitness as. But what I think is 2, 3 times more important than the training is the diet. It's everything. It's literally what you're fueling your body with. And during a lean out phase, this is where you really learn where you are fucking up on your diet because it will show when you fuck up. Yeah, and you'll also realize in this part how fucked up the fitness industry is right now with the whole just aesthetics industry, I guess you'd call it, with like looks maxing and gym. It's all kind of interlinked now, but I have realized the shit that is coming out now is just, it's leading people so astray. Like we're talking about everything that doesn't matter. We're talking about peptides. We're talking about, raw meat and all this bullshit when no one actually gets to learn the true fundamentals like we did decades ago, right? The golden era bodybuilders did it the best. They understood that it was food. It's about meal timing. It's about carbs. It's about protein. But everyone now is talking about the wrong shit, and it's why
honestly, you look back at like the golden era bodybuilders, they looked the most aesthetic for the most part.
But once again, the main goal here is just priming yourself for the growth phase, right? This is where you really set up how successful phase 3 will be, which is the best phase. How do we do it? 500 to a 1200 calorie deficit. Some guys can get away with more. There's a guy in the March challenge where his BMR is like 3500, and then on top of the cardio, his maintenance is like 4,000 calories. So he's eating like 3,000 calories and he's in a 1,000 calorie deficit, and we're gonna push that up to 1,500. There are some people where we can do that, and I actually do advocate for a bigger deficit. It's more motivating, you see results quicker, and it happens quicker as well. Only eat whole foods year round. Year round in your growth phase. Okay, maybe you can get away with one cheat meal a week, one kind of high day where we bump up the carbs and you might need to use some simple sugars or something like that, some cereal. Okay, it has its place. But when you are leaning out, you are only doing yourself a disservice by not eating whole foods. And I'm not talking about even just for the results. I'm talking about so you don't fucking suffer. Right? You're on low calories. You're going to be hungry. Even if you're doing like a GLP-1 or something, eating whole foods will keep satiety high. It'll keep you from being hungry, and it will give you the best look. We do as well want to lower our training volume a little bit, just because we have less calories to work on. Our recovery demands are going to be higher. Retatrutide really does supercharge this phase, because one of the benefits was increasing our insulin sensitivity. Retatrutide does that, and it also suppresses your appetite. Now, if you've never cut before, don't rely on a GLP-1. Learn to cut weight naturally, learn to deal with cravings, timing your meals so that you don't binge late at night. All these different factors you need to learn to do first, because that's one of the goals. Learn to diet. Do it without Reta. Next time you already know how to do it, make it a bit easier on yourself. Have Retatrutide as, training wheels. One of the biggest things as well is to just get guidance. I mentioned before that what we have right now is a lack of clarity, a lack of guidance, exactly what to do, right? And everyone's kind of scared in terms of what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and they don't really know, right? They've got brain fog. And it's very convenient for us to say, because we're coaches, right? You can work with us if you really want to. You can come to us for guidance. We can tell you exactly what to do. Basically make it foolproof, okay? Yeah. We guarantee results. It's literally in the contract, we guarantee results or you don't pay. But even if you just have like a few go-to YouTubers or a few good educated sources of information, go for it. Even sometimes with my clients, I'll send videos from other coaches when they have a really good video on a subject. I don't discriminate. As long as you get the right kinds of information and you're not listening to TikTok advice or any of this bullshit.
Just find credible sources that have made fitness transformations. I'll use this analogy, right? Have you ever seen that one guy that thinks he can fight and he goes out and he trains by himself? He might go to the gym and hit the bag. And I see it all the time when I used to go to the gym. They had a few boxing bags and people would spend years and years doing this routine of boxing there. And by year 3 and 4, they're shit. Their form is wrong, nothing is right, and they've built up all these bad habits. And it's not until they actually get boxing lessons that the coach says, what the fuck are you doing? This is all wrong. You need to relearn everything. And then they actually make progress. It was the same thing with me. I thought I could fight. I used to get in street fights, and it wasn't until I went to the boxing gym that I realized everything I knew was wrong. And I actually made more progress in that year than I thought I could my entire life. So the same thing goes for fitness.
Yeah, especially if you've like fucked this phase up once or twice, please just don't do it for a third time. Swallow your ego, get some guidance. I promise you don't know as much as you think you did. I thought I knew what I was doing year 1 and 2. I thought I knew everything. That's why I just saw terrible results, because I was doing the wrong things consistently. So especially if you've messed this up in the past and you're like, right, I just want to fix everything that I was doing before and just get on the right track, please get guidance. We are doing an 8-week challenge in March specifically for this phase, specifically to lean out, get aesthetic, get to 10% body fat, possibly build some muscle in the process. Most guys do. So you can apply for that first link in the description, and then we'll actually get on a call with you, learn a little bit more about your lifestyle, how we can implement our system into your life, and how we can get you good results. So I suggest you check that out before the waitlist closes, because the spots are basically half full already and we're barely in February. It starts March, but we'll help some of you guys out through February as well. And then in terms of macros, 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. I just saw a study on this. You could even eat 3 to 4 grams per kilo of body weight and actually see better lean muscle growth or maintainability when you're on a deficit. But when you do go on that higher end, you take away macros that you could be using for fuel, like carbohydrates. So I think 2 grams for most people per kilo of body weight is the sweet spot. It's exactly where you should be, but you could go 2.5. In terms of your carbs, this is so individual dependent and based on your BMR and your training demands, how many times a week you're training. We can get into the nitty-gritty details if we work with you one-to-one, but it's something around 80 to 150 grams of carbs, probably more for heavier people, 200, some people can get away with. And in terms of fats, this is pretty much the same for everyone. It's anywhere from 50 to 70.
Yeah, the carbs are going to be the main thing that you change. It's the sliding factor. Protein pretty much remains the same on a bulk and a cut. Yes, protein will be slightly higher on a bulk, obviously, but carbs are going to be the main thing because that's your fuel. That's what you're training off.
And then 30 to 60 minutes of cardio is a non-negotiable. First, we don't want to eat like a rabbit. If you're not burning any calories throughout the day, you're going to have to be on like 1,500 calories to lose a serious amount of weight. We don't want that. If you can just burn 500, 600 calories extra per day, that's 500 to 600 more calories you get to eat. So it's a non-negotiable even for health markers. Insulin sensitivity, once again, 30 minutes is a minimum. Fasted in the morning works great. This is just like zone 2, steady state, about 130 BPM heart rate, 3 mile an hour walk on a slight incline. It's very simple, very easy. Even just do it after your training if you have to.
So then we move on to phase 2. So why is there a phase in between 1 and 3? This is the transition period that will go roughly from 4 to 8 weeks. Now, if we also fuck this bit up, which once again, a lot of people do, and they sort of rush into this, they get excited, they think, thank fuck, I'm over with that cut, time to grow. And then boom, they blow up, they look like a puffer fish, and they're 4 weeks into their bulk and they've already gone too far. Bro, this happens to everyone. And then you just have to go back a couple steps. We want to keep the same body composition we had here and slowly titrate up calories and increase our food. We want to recover from this period and prime ourselves for phase 3. You'll do this by tapering up your carbs slightly. So this is like reverse dieting, much like we titrated down our calories as our maintenance got smaller. We want to do the same and reverse out. Slowly move out from a deficit to a surplus. So if you're in a big deficit, you're still going to be in a deficit in this transition period. It's just going to be less and less and less of a deficit until you reach your maintenance, and then slowly and carefully build your way back up to a surplus.
And that's why this phase is so good to do before your growth phase. Because let's say you didn't quite get down to 10%, but the craving's gotten unbearable, you just cut it off. I'm done with the cut. Okay, you're at 11% body fat. For another 4 to 8 weeks, you are still in a deficit. So you are still gonna lose body fat. So this is almost like our safety zone. And then when we come to here, you could possibly get down a little bit leaner before we go to our growth phase, and you're already back at your maintenance or a slight surplus, but you're leaner as well.
This is actually one of the funnest parts because you get to have like these high days whilst also being lean and full at the same time. So you're probably gonna look the best in this period right here.
If you were on retatrutide, don't come straight off it. That is one of the dumbest things you would do, because even just subconsciously, you will eat way more food right out of the gate, and don't cut out your cardio. Once again, I said that was 500 to 600 extra calories you were burning a day. If you cut out that cardio, you've just blown out your entire deficit just from cutting out your cardio. If you were in a 500 deficit, you cut out that cardio, you're already back at a maintenance, you try to increase food, now you're in a big surplus and you're gaining body fat when you shouldn't gain any body fat in this phase.
We are slowly teaching our body what to do in a successful manner. If you just move really quickly and sharply like your brain is, your body's not gonna know what to do, and you're gonna have the opposite response to what you actually want. So once this phase is completed, then and only then do we move to phase 3, which is lean growth. We call it lean growth and we call it a gaining phase instead of a bulk, because a bulk, it's just like a bad terminology, and people get these bad ideas wrapped around that terminology. They think they can just eat pizzas and do what guys on gear are doing when they're injecting a gram of gear in their ass. You can't do this. It's not gonna work. And also, just a big thing to preface, it's so funny how people attach themselves to what these bodybuilders say, right? It's like, yes, they can eat 3,000 calories on a deficit because they're the size of a fucking house. That's like below their maintenance. They can eat all this shit because they're huge. You are not. You do not have that amount of muscle mass, so you can't eat like that on a bulk until maybe one day you get to that size.
Yeah, like even I just had these numbers fixated in my head. 3,000 calories is a bulk and 2,000 calories is a cut. Well, I think you'd be surprised, a lot of you on 3,000 calories is way too high.
Yeah.
That is like a 600 calorie surplus, which is not ideal. Especially if you've been in the gym for a while, you need to be more careful with the surplus that you put yourself into. For a lot of guys at a medium size, 1 to 2 years of training experience, you're gonna be bulking on under 3,000 calories. Now, we will get to move that up as we go through our bulk. And if we can grow properly and stay lean and prolong this for maybe even longer than 24 weeks, you're gonna be bigger. So we can get to increase calories, possibly above 3,000, close to 3,500 or something like that for some of you. So staying lean through this process makes it easier on yourself as well, and you get to grow for longer. One of the main goals of this is being able to prolong this phase by keeping fat gain minimal. We don't set like a strict time frame for this bulk. We just bulk for as long as we can get away with. What cuts off a bulk is when you get above 16% body fat, let's say. Let's draw a line there. When you get out of shape is when we have to go back to phase 1, or maybe even reverse out, go through phase 2 and transition into a cut like this, because we do want to kind of consolidate the gains that we made during this growth phase, but that's another issue for a different time. But yeah, the goal is to gain lean tissue, get stronger mainly. If you're getting stronger, that usually means a bigger muscle. We also want to push volume and intensity. We kept the volume low here. We probably lowered our volume even more here and really recovered, got good sleep. You should be in a great place to grow. That shoulder injury that you had from benching all the time should be gone now. You can probably go back to benching and getting stronger.
This is why bodybuilders say you can't train like a horse and eat like a bird. It's not gonna work. You're gonna get injured. You just don't have the same fuel for that demand.
So if we do this shit right, we should be able to push the volume pretty high and push the intensity in the gym. You should feel great during this phase. So how do we do it? It's 200 to 500 surplus. It's really individual dependent. We might even have a carb cycling strategy as well for people who want to get into more advanced things, which means that some days we're in a surplus, and on our low days where we aren't training, we could possibly even be in a small deficit. This is like a very advanced way to do it that actually allows insulin sensitivity to stay high and keeps fat gain at a minimum even more. But in basic terms, a smaller surplus is usually better for most guys. Now, we don't want to be in such a small surplus where we're hindering gains, but we don't want to be in too big of a surplus where we're just putting on excess fat gain and then your bulk only lasts 8 weeks before you're out of shape again.
You want to be bulking longer than you're cutting every single time. To lose weight, it doesn't take long, but to put on lean muscle tissue, bro, that takes years and years and years and decades for serious muscle gain.
Yeah, because we say you should aim for, about half a pound a week in body weight gain, but I almost don't want to look at the scale at all during a bulk. Do not set a body weight goal. Do not set a weight gain goal, because it is absolutely irrelevant if you're just putting on fat, water, glycogen. It's irrelevant for muscle growth. You really need to understand, especially naturally and even enhanced as well, putting on muscle tissue is such a slow process. It takes so long to put on. That's why we say it's a 4 to 5 year journey in the gym to really pack on, tens of pounds of muscle. So if you are gaining excess body weight, where is that coming from? It's not coming from muscle growth, because it doesn't happen that quickly. It happens in, if you're lucky, 100 grams a week. So if we're doubling or tripling that in body weight, all that weight is just coming from fat. We want to keep fat gain at a minimum so we can prolong this phase. I can't say this enough. So let the visuals, what you see in the mirror, make sure you do check-in photos. And if you're a client of ours, we get you to do check-in photos, because that's going to be the biggest determinant on the calorie adjustments we make, as well as performance in the gym. If you are getting stronger in the gym, if you feel great in the gym, your body composition is staying good, just keep the calories there. There's nothing going wrong. So don't ramp up the calories now because, well, everything's going good. It could go better if I ramp up the calories. No, it's only just going to lead to more fat gain. So keep the calories the same if you're getting stronger. If gym performance stalls, if you aren't getting stronger, that's when we can increase calories, right? If your body composition is still good, your gym performance stalls, okay, now we can increase calories, break through some plateaus, and pretty much just repeat this cycle. What most people are doing, and what usually needs to happen, is they're seeing excess fat gain because their calories are just too high. They jump straight to a 500 calorie surplus. We're 8 weeks in, we're 16% body fat. It's gonna be very hard to grow from this point.
This is a massive thing to say as well, just as I go into this graph here. The reason this is so dangerous for guys that don't know nutrition and dieting properly is because when you get fat, right, it's way harder to get lean for guys that don't know how to diet. I mean, people stay fat. Most men stay fat for the rest of their life because getting lean is a bit of a process, right? So yeah, it's easy to fucking eat McDonald's and go into a surplus and act like a fucking bodybuilder and train hard in the gym. That's the easy part. But if you do this first, if you go straight into this and you just blow it right out the window, that is a scary process if you don't know how to diet. And if you don't have the willpower and you don't have true motivation to look aesthetic. I mean, I know guys personally that have done the whole gym thing, have done all this, and even taken stupid PED cycles for them to end up 2 years later, fat. And they just stay fat.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to treat it like a professional, because the people who get the good results are professionals or hire professionals.
And nailing this also makes phase 1 easier as well. Because if you can grow for 20 weeks and you end up maybe 14, 15% body fat and go, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with how I look now, it's like a 4-week mini cut. Yep. And then you're back in shape and you're ready to grow again. It's 1 month out of the 12 months of the year that you really have to cut, before you go back to growing. Each phase makes the other phases easier. It's all about making it easy on yourself so that you don't have to push shit uphill with a stick.
Okay, so now let's get into this graph. It's just a good visual representation you can keep in your mind, because even myself, I'm a visual learner in school. If I looked at like a big page of text, it just looked like gibberish to me. So in the blue, we have body fat. In black, we have body weight. And in red, we have muscle mass. So this is the goal of each phase. You can see we've outlined each phase. The first phase, muscle mass will stay the same. It's very unlikely you're going to hit a recomp, although most of our clients do. That is because we get them on a cleaner diet that's actually more beneficial for muscle growth, and also their training is usually locked in more. You are going to lose body weight and body fat at the same time until we reach this transition period where we'll also get a little bit leaner. Muscle mass will also usually stay the same or pick up a little bit through this phase. And body weight will shoot up because of glycogen for the most part, especially if you've increased carbs and you've gone straight out. This scares a lot of guys, and we get a lot of questions, especially from clients like, why is this day spiked? And I say, well, what did you eat? And I look at their macros, like their logs. I'm saying, well, it's this, brother. You had a pizza for dinner. What do you expect? And then here in this gaining phase, yes, it's inevitable. Your body fat will increase. It's inevitable. But we want to hit that sweet spot where we've got enough fuel to put on maximum potential size and maximum potential muscle mass whilst keeping body fat gain to a minimum. So this is the goal. You know, for the rest of the year, as long as you can, to gain size so that you're as big as possible before you have to go back into a cut, this is the goal. Minimal body fat. I like to just say, if you've still got abs relaxed, you're in a good spot. And if you lose the abs, bro, it's time to cut, bro.
Yeah.
This could be 16, 18% on some people. For me, I can get a little bit fatter and I'll still have abs. So if my abs start fading even just a little bit, I know I've gotten too fat.
And you'll actually notice, like, the more advanced, the more educated a trainee or a coach or bodybuilders on stage, they enhance this even more. Like, you'll notice bodybuilders these days don't really get above, I would say 11 to 12% body fat. They honestly spend most of the year 10% or single digit. They really put this shit to the next level. And now, yes, I get fat burners, PEDs, trenbolone, all these different compounds that it's just a completely different thing compared to natural lifters, but you get the point. As we're learning more, we're realizing staying lean, I cannot say this enough, is one of the most beneficial things you'll do, not only for the aesthetics and so you can look good, but so you can grow better. You grow better when you're lean. That is like the one key takeaway I want you to get from this video.
The funniest thing to me is we look at like some of the best transformations that we looked up to. When I was growing up, it was like David Lade, it was Ziz, it was John Skywalker. Even just those three guys, you never saw them get fat. It wasn't a thing. Yes, did they all take PEDs? Yes, but you get the gist. Yeah. You don't need to get fat to put on size. It's not a thing. It's never been proven in science.
It's really like common sense. It's like, what is the common denominator between the elite guys and guys that never really get anywhere? Well, it's the guys that never get anywhere, the guys that come to us, they're out of shape. You can't be out of shape trying to gain muscle, trying to build a physique. You need to get in shape first. And I'm not even talking about the amount of muscle you have here. I don't care if you have zero muscle. Get skinny so that you can grow. And you probably know this from guys that you knew in school. When they started skinny, it was like they just put on muscle and got aesthetic very, very quickly. And most of the aesthetic guys started skinny. And I don't think this is a genetic thing. I don't think this is an ectomorph thing. I think it's because they were in a great place to grow. They were that dry sponge that I mentioned. But for guys that are out of shape, most of them skip this part and try to grow, and then they don't even transition back. They cut and lose their muscle, and it's like they're starting from day one, but they say they've been training for 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a complete utter waste of time.
So that was our 12-month roadmap. Now, I want to preface, this doesn't have to take 12 months, or it can take longer than 12 months. It really depends on where you're at and what your body composition looks like and to what extreme you're applying each principle. Now, if you're in this phase, right, and you need to go into this phase, like we mentioned, we are running an 8-week challenge exactly for guys who want to do this. And there's a secret as well. After that, we also teach them how to do this and we give them a plan going forward, because honestly, I probably do more for my clients than I probably should. I mean, all my clients can probably attest to this. I just can't really help myself. So even though it's 8 weeks, I'll set you up for much longer than that. And if you join early, yes, you can get my number and I will help you.
If you want a more in-depth guide for this phase specifically, more related to like diet and advanced strategies regarding that, you can watch this video right here to learn more.